Alright, so today, guys, we're going to be able to recount stories, including fables and folk tales from diverse cultures, and determine their central message, lesson, or moral. So we've been talking about fables, right? We read a couple of stories, right?
Yes.
So now we're going to fill out our chart and talk about the stories. What I want you to do today is go back to the stories that we have read and tell me, what have you learned? What have you learned from all of the fables that we've read? So, who remember what story that we read? Aiden. We read Wolf Wolf. Which one? Yep, that one. Wolf Wolf. What is it something that we learned from Wolf Wolf? For one, let's go back. Who can tell me what happened in the story? Who can tell me, King? He was too old to get the sheep. Okay, and then what happened?
And he saw a little boy carrying the boy carrying the sheep.
The boy who had sheep, what happened? Who can help him out? First, the wolf was too old to go and hunt his own sheep and food. Then, Colin. He made a small garden, and what happened to that garden? Rejoice? It grew weeds instead of vegetables. Good job. So what happened? What was the problem? So we know he grew weeds instead of vegetables. And then what happened, Aiden? Yeah, he couldn't chase rabbits because he was too old. And then he heard a little boy calling him. And I'm sure he was wondering, like, why does he keep calling me? Why did the little boy keep calling him, Xander?
So he can prank the villagers.
Because he wanted to prank the villagers. So what happened after all of that? He pranked the villagers, and then what happened towards the end? Raylan.
The villagers came running up the hill.
What about towards the end of the story? So that's what happened next, but I want to skip to the end. What happened at the end of the story, Omega?
The boy, wolf told, tricked the boy to give him a sheep, and the sheep, it was a sheep in his garden, and the sheep was helping him take out his vegetables.
Good, good. So it was actually a goat. There was a goat. He tricked the little boy into giving him a goat, and then he was going to eat the goat, but what actually happened? What actually happened? Aiden. They became friends. Good job. They became friends because he ate all of the weeds instead of the vegetables. All right, so out of that story, what is it that you learned? What do you think was the most important thing that you learned out of that story? Xander?
Don't be greedy.
Don't be greedy. Okay. What else? I wouldn't say that he was greedy because did he ask for all of the goat? No, he only wanted one. So what else is something that we could have learned from that story?
The boy did get the boy.
Okay. What else? Rejoice.
The wolf kept hearing his reindeer calling, and he said, I don't remember that having in front of his mountain.
So I think what I learned from the lesson is that you make a good friend and you treat them nicely, right? He told the goat, I'm not going to eat you anymore. They became friends. So I learned that I think the point of the story was to show how you can become friends with somebody unexpectedly, right? So in your workbook, we'll come back to page 62, but really quickly look at page 37. Yep.
We already did 37.
I know. I said look at it. Alright, so guys, I want you to look at 2 pages in your workbooks. I want you to look at page 37 and 62. So everyone turn to page 37. On page 37, you have your build your knowledge. Build your knowledge chart. What can animals and stories teach us? What can animals and stories teach us? So in order to answer that question, we have to be able to recount stories, which means retell. Tell me what happened. First, next, then, last. Including fables and folktales from diverse cultures. Remember the story we read about Cinderella? That came from different cultures. Diverse means different. And determine their central message, lesson, or moral. What was the point of the story? Yeah, it was a fun story, but what did we learn from it, right? So on page 37, we're going to write down the things that we learned from the story. So in Woof Woof, what is it that we learned? Aaron? Yeah, you can make good friends and you have to respect them. Now, if the wolf would have ate the goat, would that be respectful? No, maybe not. So let's make sure we write that. Make good friends. And respect them. You can make good friends and respect them. Now, while we're doing that, what else is a story that we read? So we read Woof Woof, and that was the story from the wolf point of view, right? So what was another one, Kendall?
The mouse and the snake.
Did we? Not the mouse and the snake. That wasn't one of the fables. Look through your book. You can see what stories. So if you flip the pages, you'll see what other stories just to jog your memory. Raylan. We didn't read that this week. We're talking about the stories that we read this week. So nope, not this book. Talking about through your workbook. Nope, not this book. So look at the stories through your workbook. Thank you for covering your mouth. But look through your workbook at the different stories that we read. What else story did we read?
The boy who cried wolf.
Good, the boy who cried wolf. Now what do we learn from that story? King. Yeah, he was tricking the villagers. But what do we learn at the end of the story? So after he was calling wolf, wolf, and he kept tricking them, and he had this big old joke, and he was bored, and he had a good old laugh, what do we learn? What happened at the end of the story, and what do we learn that we should or should not do? Kalani? Good, we should not tell lies. Because when the wolf really came, did they believe him? No, they didn't. So, always tell the truth. What was another story that we read? twins. Xander. Your hand raised. Change your mind. Look through your workbook. We have a bunch of stories in here, Raylan. This week, Raylan. That's not this week. Look. If I start at page 37, and then I'll look through the book, there goes the little boy who cried wolf, and then we gotta keep looking. And then there's another story, and the shepherd boy. That's the little boy who cried wolf. What was the next story? That thing, what's the thing called? Huh? I'll get somebody to help you out. Aaron. Cinderella and Friends. Good. Cinderella and Friends. Now, did we read our normal Cinderella story? No. What was different about this story? She was talking to a fish.
Oh.
Okay. And what made that different? What particular? Remember, we talked about and friends. Rejoice.
Because when the fish died, it gave her magic bones, and she had a pretty dress and pretty shoes.
Good. So that was a completely different story from the one that we're used to. But why was it a completely different story? So I want you to think about, where did this story take place? Did it take place in a faraway castle long time ago? Where did it take place? Do we remember, Aiden? You said the girl where? I know, but where did it happen? What was the place like? What was the setting? Okay. Raylan. This story took place in Egypt. Egypt, guys, remember? That was the difference. We talked about diverse cultures, and we talked about in Egypt, and what else? There was another place. We had one in Egypt, and we had one in turn and talk to your groups. 5 seconds. 5. One in Egypt. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Give me an answer. Everybody. In China. Good job. We had one that took place in Egypt. One took place in China. So the one in China, we talked about the fish, and it was a magic fish, and you know, she gave their magical bones when the fish died, and she got to the bowl. In Egypt, what happened in that one? What was the difference, Xander?
The difference is that they both were knowing that they wanted to go to the bowl. There's one difference about it, and it is that she
Okay, it's okay to say, you know what, I lost it, Ms. Davis. That is quite all right. Colin, can you help him out? So in China, what happened, and in Egypt, what happened?
It's the same. The queen was to marry those two, but the difference, it had the different math.
Okay, good. They had different animals in their story. Good job. So the king was going to marry the girl, but they had different animals. But that is getting really, really, really close to what did we learn from those stories? What did we learn from those stories? So in China, there was Yeshin, and she was a very lonely girl, and that's in all the Cinderella stories, right? She's a very lonely girl, and then she goes by to visit her friend, the fish, and when the fish died, the magical bones get her to this ball, right? And in Egypt, how did she get to the ball in Egypt, Aiden?
Because she had animal friends and a fish friend.
She had other animal friends instead of a fish friend, and what happened with the other animal friend? Do we remember which animal got her to the ball? How it happened?
She had a mouse as friend.
So that's in a regular American Cinderella story.
Okay, the eagle shit was to the fish, and the fish found the tail, and then she was
Awesome! Everyone give Aaron a round of applause. That was an awesome answer. All right, so the eagle took the golden slipper, just like how the fish got her to the ball. The eagle took the golden slipper, dropped it off at the prince, and now they lived happily ever after. So what do you think we learned from those two stories? Because it sounds like I should make a new set of friends. And if I had to pick some new friends, who would you pick? Based on these stories. Who would your friends be based on these stories? Omega, what you think? And those are all, huh? Those are all, Aaron? Animals. Animals. So what do you think we learned? Animals was a big part of this story. Turn and talk to your group. Turn and talk to your group. What do you think you learned from this story? What do you think? They were not good animals, right? Or do you think they were just they became friends? What if you want to get your magic ball? What would you do? It could be true. Maybe. What would you do? I mean, yeah, I would be able to. Alright, well, let's just stay focused on what we learned from the story. But I think you should definitely wear something cute so